And obviously here on the 4th of March, 2023, another guy who's getting hyped up a lot and deserves a mention is Nick Petit. Last year he actually, with a positive COVID test, he sat out the Iditarod and didn't mush his own dogs. Jeff King, who is another big veteran of the race, shepherded Nick's team up the trail, and he was non-competitive back in the pack. He finished with I think about 9-10 dogs, and one might argue that that would set Nick up for success this year because with Nick not at the helm, sort of like I was just speaking about Ryan, the dogs went all the way to Nome. They had a positive, happy trip with someone else on there, Jeff King, who was experienced, and didn't get a lot of competitive pushes early on, which is Nick's tendency to try to be the first one to the 24 or the first one to the Yukon River, to Ruby, and to be the first one towards, Caltag, which is the end portion of the Yukon River. So, one might argue, and I've heard it rumored that, people are suggesting Nick was going to have his year this year to shine. He's also potentially pulling some dogs, drawing some dogs to fill out his team from Lance Mackey's kennel, the late Lance Mackey, R.I.P. Lance, what an amazing legacy on the sport, and also Jim Lanier's kennel, because Hugh Neff has been denied entry, and Jim Lanier has some very excellent dogs, the white dogs there, and Hugh proved it a couple years ago winning the 440. So it's going to be interesting to see what Nick puts together in terms of him as another one like Ryan, who I think should be challenged to be patient and conservative because they have good dog teams and not try to race to the wheels fall off on the way to McGrath and Takata over the Alaska range. Try to keep a good group of dogs together, and even don't even try to race to the 24, because I think Brent has the best team in the race. Objectively, a lot of Lance Mackey bloodlines. He's the money and the time have been dedicated towards it, and I think trying to race him on the first portion would backfire. And those guys would be passed by a lot of different teams. In other words, I think there's only a few teams, basically just Brent, who could potentially try to get a lead early on, dictate the pace, and defend it. But there's a lot of teams that if they try to do that, the wheels will fall off and it won't work to their advantage. But if they try to come from behind strategy, a lot of those other teams, like Nick, like Ryan, it might play out in their favor and they might be able to catch Brent if things fall apart for him or if he makes a mistake, as long as they stay in striking distance.